My loves, do you want to lead like a mother? And by lead like a mother, I mean inclusive, fiercely protective, powerful, limitless creativity, and with a kind of gentleness that moves mountains, no matter what you're doing, whether it's family or team, projects, corporations, your own entrepreneurial, whatever. I have something for you. My new thing is audiobooks because I really want to be able to speak in multiple learning styles for people. So I recently did a business masterclass called Lead Like a Mother, and we now have the audiobook polished and produced, and it's up in our shop. So normally it's $87 US. You can get a discount off of it if you head to daniellelaporte.com/lead like a mother and you use the code POD114, POD114, then you get $17 off. This discount code is valid until midnight Pacific on Friday, May 24th, which also happens to be the eve of my birthday and the eve of my wedding weekend. So the class is for everyone. If you have been on the track of obsessive goal setting and metric counting and hacking and disruption for the sake of being disruptive, forget it. That is not life affirming. I am talking about creating self-managing teams, how to track the nervous system of your business or your project. Yeah, it has its own nervous system, just like you do. We get into fun ways to celebrate our progress and to inspire our people. And my belief that compassion, especially in business, compassion helps us get results. And that is what helps us move into harmony and cost savings and deeper creativity and connecting with the people that we're setting out to serve. I also talk about project management that's way more agile and how we as a team cut our project managing in half and doubled our productivity. Yeah? Do you want to know about communication that keeps you on track? We have lots of ideas. So I've got some highlights in this podcast from the Lead Like a Mother business class. You will be hearing that. And if you want to go grab the audiobook now, head to daniellelaporte.com/lead like a mother, POD114, POD114. You get your money off and you get some learning that you can turn into creativity and service for you and the world. Welcome to Lead Like a Mother. Can't talk about the feminine without talking about the masculine. So part of being divinely feminine, this has nothing to do with gender, obviously, is being inclusive. So you can't talk about the feminine without talking about the masculine. And this isn't about one being better than the other, but this is about one being more required at this time than the other in terms of balancing things out. So characteristics of the balanced masculine: depth, conscious awareness, presence, embodies integrity. This is my translation of that. Honesty about what's present. So the definition of integrity is wholeness. You bring all fragments of yourself to the situation, and you have the capacity, because you've been present, you probably have some spiritual practices to back you up, to see what's happening in the room with the person. You intend to live a life of truth, always seeking that outward motion, going out into the universe. The archer, the arrow, has a target, has directives, has goals, loves metrics. These are all good things. You just can't be excessive about it. Is reflective. I think a reflective life is a heart-centered life. Stops to recapitulate, wants to see, is not that focused on feeling, but wants to see, wants to observe, wants to add it up. The points here that are bolded, we're going to break down. Create safe containers for self and others. We'll talk about that. Balances competition and cooperation. Let me tell you a little story about balancing competition and cooperation. Steve Jobs, and I can't remember the company, I think it was Oracle. Steve Jobs and the CEO of, let's say, Oracle, had a deal that they wouldn't poach from each other's companies. And Steve found out that, let's say it was Oracle, was starting to poach from Apple. And he sent a one-sentence email to the other CEO and said, "It's come to my attention that you're recruiting from Apple, let me know which one of us needs to change our policy. He's like, well played, Steve. So balance of competition and cooperation. The balanced masculine is the hub of harmony. So what does harmony mean? Mediation, collaboration, consideration. You go to that father leadership energy to get things worked out. This is coach energy. This is like, how are we going to get this sorted out as a team, as a collective? Is responsive to, this is really a form of enlightenment, is responsive to and takes responsibility for all externalized, so it's been manifested, externalized thoughts, speech, and actions. The simplest way of putting this is takes as much responsibility as possible for what's been manifested. So you don't throw your team under the bus. You take responsibility for your energy, your decisions being involved in everything. You can look it square in the eye. Okay, let's talk about creating containers. So, question for you. How do you create safe containers for yourself and for others? You don't have to answer this right now. Let me tell you how we do it, and then I'm going to come back to you. Okay. I want to kind of tease your thinking out a bit. So this is what we do for safe containers and for ourselves and for others. Safe containers for us is a performance review that doesn't suck. So let me walk you through this. So this is a combination of my friend, Steph Corker, who has just shut down her company called Corker Collective. She's one of the most sought after headhunters, human capital recruiters is what she liked to be called in the country. She and I kind of mashed our thinking together. So this is what we would send to people at the end of the year. They get it in email. They get it in December. We do not send it during Mercury retrograde. And we send it before Christmas holidays when there's time to process it together. So the team member gets this process. They get a week to respond. They do it in writing. It's in a shared Google Doc. So I can actually see it before we have our in-person or our in real-time meeting. And then we talk through it together. Does anybody like performance reviews? Has anybody ever felt great about giving a performance review or getting a performance review? Maybe you felt great in like what you got to say, but it's still, this is in the spirit of creating a self-managing team. People who think for themselves and do what it takes, essentially, right? It's your job to give vision. So you ask them to assess themselves. And what you see from this is how aligned you are with your experience of that person and how self-aware the person is. And if you're on the same page at all. And you see where you have fallen short as a leader, as a communicator, as a goal setter. We'll run through these questions. So people are ranking their enrichment. 1 is not that happy. 10 is, I feel really enriched. Connection and leadership. Did you feel cared for? Did you feel connected to your direct manager? You scale it, and then you give your additional thoughts. If someone can't answer these questions honestly, they're not going to make it on your team. I would guess that 6 to 12 months after answering these questions and an inability to really be intimate in these questions, they'll be gone because they're not really satisfied, or they're not self-aware, or it's just not a fit. Did you feel connected to the team? Did you feel cared for and connected to your team? Were you accountable? Notice these. Let me rewind. These are all put in first person. I was accountable for delivering my best work. It's interesting when someone will say 10, yes, and you're just thinking, wow, I was going to give them a 5. Who's that on? Is that their self-awareness, or is that a lack of coaching or lack of key performance indicators and all those things? Are you proud? Are you proud? Pride is a great feeling. You want to feel proud of everything you did. Okay, health. I have had people on my team, 15 years now, 70 people have come through the doors. I counted them up a couple weeks ago. All shapes, sizes, various capacities, abilities, and degrees of wellness. And how someone cares for their body temple transfers into their work. So we ask, I was responsible for prioritizing my wellness to fuel my work. Kind of bring the two together, helping you make the connection. Taking care of your body helps you take care of us. Are you clear on the goals? This will tell you whether you're a great leader or not. It's your job to clarify the goals. Overall well-being. I want to know that this job, this role is helping you in other areas of your life. Has this made you a better partner? Are you a better parent? Do you have some money in the bank? Can you get do you want to get a mortgage? Is that your thing now? Highlights. This is walking the talk. We took our free and clear experience. 50,000 people have been through it. And we turned it into the rest of this review process for everybody. What were your highlights? So the direction here, this is important, is we first cue people. Don't look at your calendar yet. Don't go through your day planner. Don't look through our Google Docs. What I want to know is what you remember, what stands out in your heart and mind about what lit you up, what worked for you, where you felt nourished and supportive, etc. You go through that way once, and then you go back and you look at your calendar. And seeing what you forgot to be excited about says a lot. Like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot we launched that thing. Well, that's interesting. And then this is where we're really asking people to self-manage. What are the patterns that you see? Because if you want to coach for growth, you have to be aware of somebody's patterns. What's repeating, the good stuff and the not so good stuff. Lowlights and struggles. You notice how the list of highlights is longer than the lowlights. So we want to focus on the light. We don't want to ignore the dark. And we don't want to go south into a downward spiral. What didn't work? I want to know what caused you stressed. And then let's analyze it. And this gratitude, the final section of this, helps people lily pad into the future. And if you want to build it into your conversation, this is where you start to clarify with people the goals for the future. But it depends on how you structure this time together. Like, this is about a 45-minute conversation in real time. And there's lots of nerves and there's lots of feelings, and hopefully everybody's feeling great about things. And you might just want to wrap it up with some celebration, or depending on the person and where you're at in the business, you might want to go, okay, wow, let's go over some goals and where we're going. Okay. So point number 4 about balanced masculine leadership is being reflective. So we had a beautiful exchange in the team recently where somebody brought something up again. It was the same thing we talked about many times, but they weren't feeling at ease. It's just like, there's one more point where I was thinking about this when I was walking the dogs. And we all have that. Sometimes we can have that resistance to bring things up again. We don't want to be the annoying person. We don't want to be the emotional person. We want to know that, like, hey, we were present when we talked about it the other 5 times. Every time this happens, when someone pushes it out and brings it up, it's a relief to everybody else, and it surfaces the actual solution. It is not done until it's done, except your job to lead like a balanced person, a heart-centered leadership, is to know when things are getting refined and glad you brought that up, we're complete. And then when we're kind of wallowy and kvetchy and we just need to like go and move on. But repeat is necessary. So, my approach is that good communication is like yoga. You're doing it to move forward. You're doing it to integrate. And then when you're complete, you're complete. So how do we be reflective as a team? Part of our reflection is we debrief immediately after events. So as soon as this is over, we will be talking in Slack about what we could have done better, about what was great, about how many people signed up, how many people came in live. We complete it and then we move on. Have your debriefs as close as you can to the finishing, the close cart, the whatever, the crossing the deadline for you. If you have your debriefs a day later, a week later, with bigger things, you want to get your team together, you want to think about launches and things like that, the energy is stale. Where are my creatives at? My creators, my entrepreneurs, my people who want to maybe escape corporate. You got a side hustle going. You fancy yourself a way shower, a change agent. You know the power of the online space and face to face, and you are here to serve. I'm finally doing a mastermind program. It's called the Inner Circle. It's a business accelerator. It's all about mentoring you, myself and my team, getting our hands on your plans to help facilitate some quantum leaps. We're going to be together for 6 months. I, as a participant in some really high level masterminds, know the value, the medicine, the leverage of working in a group of people who have been there, who are going there, who have different skill sets, different ways of looking at the world, and they know what's going on with online marketing and raising money and cleaning up your finances and your tech stack, and all in the spirit of heart-centered service. Yeah, I'm all for it. So I want to help you make 2024 the year that you up level into obviously heart-centered businessing and careering. We're going to take your intention and we're going to match it with all of our tools and our mentorship. Myself and my team, we have so much to offer you. I've been at this for 15 years. My team has developed other teams that have gotten big things across finish lines. We know how to launch, we know how to campaign, and we're doing it in a sane, metaphysical, loving kindness, rock the algorithm, know how to read your P&L, take it to the next level with some sanity kind of way. This is high touch. This is customized, and it is daniellelaporte.com/inner circle. The card is closing tomorrow, midnight Pacific. That's Thursday, May 23rd. Why tomorrow? Because most of the team is traveling to come to my wedding, and we need time to dance, laugh, and eat the gluten-free cake. And then I'm going on a bit of a honeymoon, and then I will be back in time for June 1st for the Inner Circle. We're going to hold hands. We're going to look at your plans, and we're going to lift off together, because you really can only do it together. Further, faster, deeper, way more fun in community. There's a few spots left. Learn more. Register daniellelaporte.com/inner circle. All right, let's shift into the feminine. Expresses creativity. Every one of these words is thought through. Expresses creativity. That means you embody creativity. You are creative. You are a creative being. Now, are you going to express it? I hope so. All expression of your innate creative self, the love that you are, is manifesting. You put out what's true and authentic. You put out an idea. You put out an offering. You're going to manifest something. The balanced feminine surrenders to the higher principle, not the lower principle, not just anybody, not toxic patriarchy, not excessive attachment to metrics, only to the higher principle. Another way of saying this is that the balanced feminine is receptive to guidance. I'm going to talk about receptivity in a bit. In the flow, adaptable, flexible, highly underrated quality in corporate. Rests in authenticity, meaning you're at ease with what is. Capital S on self, higher self. Playful, also underestimated value. Defers to the heart. That's my definition of intuition. Hold space for growth and expansion. We're going to talk about that. Number 8, in rhythm with the essence of sound and light. Radiant. I'm going to break down every word. Radiant, magnetic, deeply grounded in the center of her mandala. Receiving and or transmuting that which comes her way. Let me break that down a bit. Radiance is the transformation of your suffering. So this isn't being glowy and happy and bypassing stuff that goes on. This is, I'm taking my experience and I'm going to shine my wisdom all over this situation. I have walked through this fire, dear employee, client, millennial, agency. I have things to show you. I will own that. You own your radiance. When you do that, you magnetize higher things to you. You're operating a higher vibration. I think a prayer that sums up this receptivity and this acceptance, this of higher self is the 12 steps prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is a little snippet from my morning practice. Everything I receive, because I'm opening myself to wisdom from the higher, and everything I create, that wisdom, I see it come in mind to my heart, and I give from my heart, is a blessing. It's all blessing me. It's a blessing to have received it, to create it, and what we give out is a blessing. So principle 2 of the divine feminine surrenders to the higher principle. So the most important thing I do for my business is I meditate almost every day. The way I assure that we earn a living is I meditate every day. The reason I'm attracting really amazing people is I meditate almost every day. Find your thing. You have to have a spiritual practice. So this is my practice. 5 to 7 days a week, I either sit down or I walk and do this outside. If you can get outside to do a practice, you get all the extra oomph of the elements that the elements just want to get their love all over you. I do the heart-centered manifesting practice. And what it is I get clear on my vignettes of what success looks like. And then we work with colors. We work with golds and pinks and whites, and we saturate those visions. So you work on an energetic level. This is heart-centered leadership. This is leading like a mother. You pray about it first. Pray about it first. Become an energy healer. Work on that level. It's graceful. It's graceful. You pray for grace. Never have those discussions during Mercury retrograde. Then this is the actual sequence of my morning practice. I offer all my fears up to the sun. All my fears up to the sun. So I seal my practice, seal my heart-centered manifesting. I conclude with a prayer. I repeat the names of all my higher beings that I work with. I say 3 times, thank you 3 times, sealed. 3 times is sealing. And then I move to me. The heart-centered manifesting practice, working with my team, the energy of that is impersonal. This is not about, I want you to be a better person on my team so that I can go make more money. Of course I want that. But my job is to hold people. And if we all go make more money, we go make more money. But that's not the priority, working with human beings. So impersonal, infinite blessings. I say this many times, infinite blessings to infinite beings for infinity. That's really all you really need to say. Then, okay, I seal that deal. Then I go to the personal. I offer all of my fears to the sun. I'm quite refined about this now. I used to walk through all my fears, the 28 fears, the 108 fears. I forgot a fear. The fears for the past, present, and the future. I don't do that anymore. I offer all my fears up to the sun. I don't think through my fears. I don't want to energize them. I trust that it's done, but I do it daily. Then I say a prayer to remember my true nature. I am my true nature. And I'm drawing on some sweet experiences I have. And then I do the Metabhavna prayer. You've been in the heart-centered leadership world. You know the Metabhavna prayer. Okay. So let's talk about flow and the divine feminine. So this is principle number 3. The divine feminine is adaptable and flexible in the flow. I think in the new age space, we have this inaccurate perception that flow is just like going with whatever comes to your door. That is not going with the flow. Flow is responsive. It's not passive. And so this is our awakefulness. We're paying attention to the signs. We're sensing. So I know that someone is a great leader. I can tell when they walk into the room, if they're assessing, doesn't matter if you're male or female, they're assessing the needs of everybody in the room. How's the emotional temperature? How's the physical temperature? Are there any clearing conversations that we need to have? Is there a ritual that needs to be done? Is there a prayer? Do we need to gong something? One of my publishers, doesn't matter the size of the meeting, we used to do 1 minute timed on the phone. Little chime would go. Just help everybody get there. That's great heart-centered leadership. I just want to say also with the flow, the body longs for flow. So another practice I do, I try to pivot a lot as I sit at my desk and I do 4-6-8 breathing, and I work with essential oils. So I start a project, meaning I'm going to task switch. I get out something in my drawer. Here I have an essential oil. I do 1 drop in my palms, on my heart, on my head. I start my new project. And that is working really nicely with doing my Pomodoro time management. I focus for 34 minutes. I set my timer. I do one thing, take a break, 1 minute, 4 minutes, task switch. You do that 4 times, and then you take a real break. You go for lunch, you do a walk around the block. Okay. Flow only moves forward. If you are feeling stagnant in your creativity, you're not in the flow with your higher self. If you are kvetching, if you are in, let's just say, victim mode, if you still are holding the grievance about someone suing you or whatever it was, you are out of the flow. It doesn't mean that flow is superior. Maybe your lesson is to hold grievance for a decade. It's totally your soul's journey. Whatever, you can kvetch as much as you want, but that's not flow. Flow is, we all know, more fun. So I always say, crush your gimmicks. Talk to so many coaches who don't want to let their communities down because they don't want to change their brand. Oh my God, a dozen weight loss coaches came to me years ago. I want to talk about relationships now. I'm tired of talking about weight loss, but I'm going to lose my community. No, your community want to grow. In the future, Elizabeth is going to teach us more about cleaning up our list and the pain of cleaning up your list. Let's say you have 1,000 people on your list and you're going to go through the tech process and the back and forth to get them to unsubscribe if they're not opening your emails, and you lose half of them. That's okay. You have 500 people who resonate with you. They're qualified. They're going to buy something from you. They're going to stick around. Okay. So here's my question for you. What are you teaching? So we're all always teaching. What are you teaching? There's a layer to this. There's what we want to teach, what we think we're teaching. And then we take a pause. Maybe you got to go for a walk in the woods, hug some sequoias, and ask yourself, according to your life and how you're showing up in your life, what are you modeling? What are you actually teaching? Are you teaching burnout? Are you teaching heart-centered leadership? Are you teaching courage? Are you teaching restriction? Are you teaching forgiving? Are you teaching rest? What do you want to be teaching? I want to be teaching loving kindness, transparency, nourishing friendship, and common sense. This is all you need to know. What would love do? So this gets into receiving and transmuting that which comes her way. This is the only question you need to ask with everything. You got the legal advice, what would love do? You got the disappointing news, what would love do? You have a member who's a little bit kooky pants. You got someone in your mastermind who just triggers the shit out of you. What would love do? What would love do? All right, love, do you want to hear or watch or read the rest of this class? This comes from our heart-centered membership business track. So you can get on the wait list. It's going to open soon, daniellelaporte.com/membership. And then we will notify you as soon as the doors open in June to take in our next wave of members. And then the doors close until the new year. Why am I closing the doors? So that I can go deep and focused and keep it really sacred with everybody who's in the membership community. We have 2 tracks. We have a life track where I'm doing all of our body, mind, spirit support. You've got your workshop every month. And then that fans out into a business track. So we include all the life stuff, and then we talk about creativity and operations. And it's really juicy. So if you want to get instant access to the masterclass and the transcripts and the audiobook, go to daniellelaporte.com/lead like a mother. You know the code POD114. It's always the number of the podcast episode, POD114. And you get some moolah and instant access to Lead Like a Mother. The code is valid until midnight, Friday, May 24th. I will be here for you next Wednesday and many Wednesdays for the foreseeable future. Always with love, Danielle. Thank you so much for listening, for feeling, for spreading the word. With love.